What's going on, everybody? C4 here. Welcome back as free agency frenzy is hitting. I'm hearing rumors about maybe a wide receiver to the Eagles. We're just going to wait until the numbers come in. But my God, we're just firing out videos left, right, and center. But this one here, I wanted to make sure got out there because it means a lot to me. Nick Foles. Nick Foles gone to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Surprise to literally no one. But the details of the contract, I'm going to try to make sense of it. So we got Nick Foles got a 4-year, $88 million deal, and they're reporting around $50 million of that is going to be guaranteed. And that's kind of ridiculous. I'm saying this as a fan of Nick Foles. I got a Nick Foles jersey. Nick Foles is a legend in my mind. He's a mind in every Philadelphia Eagle fan possible. Nick Foles is a big-time upgrade over Blake Bortles, Cody Kessler, Chad Henne, whoever they've had down there at quarterback. Rotating door in Jacksonville. Nick Foles is better than any of them. I think Nick Foles is better than any available quarterback in free agency this year, which is really, Teddy Bridgewater for the most part. I think Nick Foles is better than any quarterback will bring as a rookie quarterback this year. But I kind of always felt that if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars and you're signing Nick Foles, you need to view him as like a high upside transitionary quarterback. Like a stopgap. Like clearly, Nick Foles is a guy that's, even in Philadelphia, I couldn't say he's a franchise quarterback. Like he was put in a good situation in Philadelphia, made the most out of his opportunities, and showcased that if you have a good scheme, a good coach that can get on the same page as Nick Foles, and you have a good offense around him, he can win you a Super Bowl. Is that the case with the Jacksonville Jaguars? I feel like they need a little bit more pieces on the offensive side of the ball to be comparable to the Philadelphia Eagles offense, but still, there's way worse teams. Like I think the Jags have a somewhat promising offense. They got a decent offensive line. They invested in it big last year, getting the big fish, if you will, in Andrew Norwell. They got some interesting options at wide receiver. You got D.D. Westbrook, Keelan Cole. Like those guys have made some plays. Marquise Lee it is what it is. They need to figure out what's going at tight end. You could potentially have one of the better running backs in the league in Leonard Fournette if he can stay healthy. So it's not like he's going to like some abysmal team that has no options on offense, and it's going to be just like Nick Foles going to the Rams again. So and you got the DiFilippo connection. Frank DiFilippo was in Philadelphia as the QB coach when obviously went on that Super Bowl run. I've stressed enough because I know like a lot of Jacksonville Jaguar fans might be coming over here to see what an Eagle fan thinks about this Nick Foles deal. I will say during that run, it was much more Doug Peterson that got the most of the Nick Foles. I think Doug Peterson coaching up Nick Foles than it was, say, DiFilippo. But DiFilippo was there. He saw, at least he was in the room. He was in the organization that saw what Nick Foles' ceiling can be. So that's a positive. That's always a big-time positive to have. But I just feel like looking at the money that they paid Nick Foles doesn't necessarily level up or square up with how I think he should be viewed as the new quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think you get Nick Foles because you don't want to invest a high-round pick in a quarterback this year, which I don't blame them, but next year you really want to. I mean, you get Nick Foles here, $50 million guaranteed. We're going to assume that most of that is in the first 2 years, if they were smart. So next year you can start looking maybe at drafting a quarterback, one that slips. I mean, we're looking at QBs next year. You're going to have Justin Herbert's probably going to be out of range because the Jags probably aren't going to be as down as they were this year. Now they have a somewhat capable quarterback to good quarterback in Nick Foles. So then you got to look at, they're going to be picking probably, let's be honest, they might make the playoffs. They could squeak into the wild card. They could probably have a chance at winning the division. They could put it all together because on paper, Jags have a pretty decent squad. But let's just say the Jags are going to pick probably between 12 and 21. You're not really going to be able to get the high-end franchise quarterback. You're going to have to get the quarterbacks that are going to be viewed as they need a year to sit and wait kind of thing. So they're going to be looking at maybe Jordan Love from Utah State, Jake Fromm from Georgia. There's a chance Tua could be down there as well. So that's kind of where I view Nick Foles as, is like, even having him there, you're still always thinking like, he's not really going to be our long-term starter. Is he? So maybe the long-term con is if this deal is front-loaded, Maybe the long-term play is Trevor Lawrence from Clemson. Maybe, I think someone suggested this in the Discord. We got, his name's Nightmare. He's a Jags fan. I was like, that actually kind of makes sense. 3 years from now, Trevor Lawrence is going to be coming out. He's going to be the most hyped-up quarterback maybe ever, since Andrew Luck at least. He's going to be right in like probably top 5 most hyped-up quarterbacks ever. And then you might even have Justin Fields if he can put it together for Ohio State. So 3 years from now, that could be the plan. The long-term plan here in Nick Foles is that they front-loaded all his money so that come the NFL draft 3 years from now, that's when they could be looking at getting their next big franchise quarterback, their long-term quarterback on that affordable rookie deal. So, until then, Jags, you get yourself a fan. You know, I've never really not liked the Jags. The Jags forever were like the Browns. You know, everyone was just kind of like laugh at them. They're the joke of the NFL. And, you know, when they did good, most neutrals got behind the Jacksonville Jaguars. But then the attitude and swagger they had last year kind of soured some people. Never really the case for me. I mean, I've always liked Leonard Fournette. I've always liked Jalen Ramsey. A lot of people on that team. I do enjoy watching. So it was never hard for me as a neutral when I'm watching Jags play to probably be like, yeah, let's go Jags. But now they got Nick Foles. I mean, I'm not going to say they're my AFC team. Like, my sleeper team in the AFC was the Buffalo Bills. I always am going to enjoy watching teams like the Texans and the Steelers and the Raiders. But I don't think we're going to have Jacksonville list because pretty much any game I'm watching from a neutral that has Nick Foles starting at quarterback, I mean, how can you not cheer against it? So until they find a way to play the Eagles, which I think they're going to have to be a couple of years from now because Philly took on Jacksonville last year in London. I mean, I'm a Jags fan, baby. Duval. So go Jacksonville. Congrats on getting Nick Foles. I think if you're a Jags fan, you know, the contract's kind of ugly, but if you get the money to spend, they just cut half their goddamn team, it felt like. He's better than Blake Bortles. He's going to give you more of a shot. You feel like, if, as a Jacksonville Jaguar fan, that you guys are there. This is your window to continue to win. You still have all those pieces on defense for the most part. You have some all-right options on offense if you continue to draft well. Especially they go offensive heavy. Like I said, DK Metcalf, grab a tight end in the first round. Nick Foles is going to take you much farther than what Blake Bortles did. And then you look at, you know, excluding last year where it seemed like everything that could go wrong did go wrong for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Go a year before. If you have Nick Foles in that scenario where they had Blake Bortles and they lost to the Patriots, I mean, maybe you win. Maybe that's your Super Bowl run. So if you hope that you could just put last year as an anomaly, put it to bed, and kind of take the momentum from 2 years ago and think that that can carry over, it's still a very similar roster to next season. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason why Jacksonville can't make a legitimate playoff run with Nick Foles. And if you think that he's the guy that can get you into the playoffs and then you get that Foles magic, anything can happen, maybe he's worth $50 million. I don't know. Jags fans, I know there's not a whole lot of you, but let me know what you think about this deal. I know almost all Philadelphia Eagle fans that, you know, have got over. Well, you know, there's definitely a segment of our fan base that's still struggling to get over that Nick Foles is our quarterback, and we didn't trade Carson Wentz. But I can tell you're getting a lot of neutrals that are now going to support your team, so that's positive. Hey, that's pretty cool. So treat him well. Treat him well. You do not cut him. You do not do him dirty. Or I swear to God, I'm going to drive down to Jacksonville, which is actually not super far away. It's not like a ridiculous drive. I will personally beat up Tom Coughlin and whatever your coach is, the weird guy, Marone. I'll beat them both up in the parking lot if you guys do my boy Nick Foles dirty. Guarantee that. I'll drive down with Lane Johnson and Brandon Brooks. Okay? Look on Twitter. Find out about the road rage incident that happened today, which is pretty hilarious. But there you go, guys. We're still waiting on news about a certain wide receiver that may be going to the Eagles. That video will be out once we get some more details. So I'm sure you'll hear back from me within probably the hour. But Free Agency Frenzy continues here on the channel. And Nick Foles has signed for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Goodbye, sweet prince.